Martin Luther King Jr. had his own Gethsemane. He talks about it in the dark days of the Montgomery bus boycott. He says that during the Montgomery bus boycott, he used to get these ugly phone calls in the midnight hour. And he had grown accustomed to hearing dozens of phone calls every day saying, "I'm going to kill you." And he had learned to just live with it. But he said that one night he received a call that did disturb him, that did shake him up. And they said, we're going to kill you and blow up your house if you don't get out of town. And so Martin Luther King Jr. said that he began to think about all of the theologians that he had studied in seminary. He began to think about all of the philosophers, and he began to try to think about the philosophical groundings of evil in the world. And he said, after a while, something spoke to me. And something said that all of that has its place, but none of that is going to help you right about now. No, Martin Luther King Jr., if you're going to walk through your own Gethsemane, you're going to have to connect to that God that your mama used to talk about. You're going to have to connect to that God that your daddy used to talk about. You're going to have to connect to that God in the basement and the Sunday school and the sanctuary of the Ebenezer Church and churches like Ebenezer, where mothers who barely had a fourth grade education somehow put their children through college and bought property and maintained their sense of dignity. How did they do it? They did it because they understood that something within that holdeth the reins, something within that vanishes pain, something within I cannot explain. All I know is I've got something within. Anybody here know what it's like to stand up when other folk think you ought to sit down? Anybody know how to smile when the world wants to put a frown on your face? Anybody here know how to keep the faith in the midst of the storm? You have to know that greater is the one who is within you than the one who is within the world. And so the Bible says that after those closest to him had abandoned him, he went to the only place he knew to go. Father, with you all things are possible. Why don't you remove this cup from me? I'm tired and I'm all alone. The disciples said that they would never leave me. Peter said he would never deny me. He said, I'll die with you before I leave you. And I can't even get them to stay awake, let alone die with me. I can't even get them to stay awake with me. Anybody here ever had friends say, I'll be with you through the thick and the thin? And when things got thick, they started thinning out one by one. Anybody here ever had somebody switch on you in the midst of a storm? But anybody here who's ever had somebody switch on you, know that there's one who will never leave you nor forsake you. Anybody here know anything about cosmic companionship? Is there anybody here who knows that there is a God who will help you to see your destiny all the way through? You don't have to throw in the towel. You don't have to give up on yourself. You don't have to give up on God. You can see your destiny all the way through.